Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days in 5 minutes. Brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, your place to go if you got to get stuff to clean up from the winter storm we just had and the blizzard along the coastal plain from Delaware up to New England, or maybe in preparation for Friday because we might have some wintry precipitation to deal with. That one might have more freezing rain than anything else. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. They've got the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com is the website. Just want to give you a heads up tonight. There's no Joe and Joe weather show tonight, although I was tempted, I must tell you. But we needed a 2-day break, so we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern Time. Meanwhile, I'll probably do a longer Weather in 5, which is I always do a longer Weather in 5 to cover what's going on. So we have the winter storm watches that are up, and there are going to be some more before this is all said and done from Kansas and Oklahoma, north central Texas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area, on into northern Arkansas, virtually all of Missouri, central and southern Illinois. Central Illinois, many of the counties there are under winter storm warnings now. Northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, southwestern Michigan, winter storm watches further east and southeastern Michigan, including Detroit, and then running up through Ohio, including Cleveland, the very northwestern corner of Pennsylvania, and then into southwestern New York and points northward into parts of north central New York. And again, expect some more as we go through the next several days, and we're probably going to see a lot of warnings as well. Meanwhile, there's nothing of consequence really going on in the northeastern mid-Atlantic states for the next couple of days. We do have a little low that's going to be forming off the North Carolina-Virginia coast. That's going to enhance the onshore flow a little bit. So just alerting maybe some coastal residents for some tidal flooding because we have a new moon. So the tides are running on the high side. But other than that, and other than high clouds for tonight and for tomorrow, I really think our weather's going to be fine. Wednesday, we'll probably have more clouds around with that onshore flow still lingering. And then we start to get into the energy that is going to be producing our next storm system. We've got a system moving through the western lakes right now. There's also some moisture gathering in the Gulf of Mexico, and you can see moisture coming in to Southern California. But the rest of the country is, on the whole, fairly quiet. So front and center is the system for Friday. So let's take a look at what's going on. This is WPC's probability for at least 2 inches, and it covers the forecast period into Thursday evening, 7 o'clock. So it's only for the next 72 hours. This is the probability of at least 2 in that stripe that runs from Kansas and northernmost Oklahoma as far as the 95% probability. But let's use the 50% line, and that goes down into central Oklahoma, even to the southwest Oklahoma, southern Kansas, right through southern Illinois, eventually into western most Pennsylvania, and then kind of heads on up into upstate New York and northern New England. The initial setup of the precip is what looks like that long finger that runs up from Colorado, which, by the way, also under high probability of at least 2. We're going to switch over to a probability for at least 4. And that probability is also rather large. We're seeing it in parts of Colorado, especially in the mountain areas. And as we go east, a very high probability across Kansas and right through the winter storm watches and where we have the winter storm warnings up into southeastern Michigan and northwestern Ohio. And the probability of at least 8 is showing up as well in areas in southeastern Michigan and northern Indiana. And we'll just give it a quick look to see if there's a probability for at least 12. And actually there is in northern Indiana into southeastern Michigan and a very tiny corner in northwest Ohio. There is an 80% probability, a fairly large area of 50% probability for at least 12. In the long range, this concerns the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic states. For the period here is Friday into Saturday. WPC, and this is a forecast that was done prior to the dayside guidance. So from northeastern Virginia on northward, including the coast, there's a 10 to 30% chance of at least a quarter of an inch liquid equivalent of snow and sleet, and then you get into a 50% chance when you get up into central and northern New England, and a 70 to 90% chance at southeastern Maine. I'm expecting this forecast to change somewhat. Unfortunately, the guidance isn't guiding us very well with what is going on. So, what is going on? Okay, the system set up here is completely different from what we just experienced. We're not seeing energy coming down from the north and a sharpening trough and an intensifying storm off the east coast. This is a much different scenario. It's strictly overrunning. Very warm air in the upper atmosphere, because the upper atmosphere is so warm that it would have been rain, except for the fact that we have this bitter cold high that is coming down out of Canada and into the northern plains. The question for the eastern part of the United States, and in particular for the areas down near the coast, southern New England, across New Jersey, southeastern Pennsylvania, into Maryland and northeastern Virginia, is whether the bulk of the cold air with that high goes to the east in eastern Canada, or does the bulk of the cold air drop southward into Texas and into the southern plains? If it drops southward into the southern plains, this wave that you see in northwest Georgia, and this was the GFS from earlier today, that wave would take the western route here and run up along a stalled frontal boundary that will be well to the north and west of the coast, and except maybe toward the end of the period, later Friday into Friday evening, you might see a change over to freezing rain and then maybe a little bit of snow. There'd be probably some icing because the air behind it is very cold. But the other scenario is that if the cold air, the coldest air, winds up going into eastern Canada, if the bulk of that cold air goes into eastern Canada, that cold air will bleed southward, and that will keep this wave just to the south. And because of the very warm upper atmosphere, we'll see a rather prolonged period of freezing rain, and then maybe a change over to snow at the end. The further north and west that you go, freezing rain is going to be less of an issue, and snow might be the bigger issue. These types of systems can generate a lot of precipitation because of the very warm air aloft interacting with this bitter cold air at the low levels. So it's not like we have a developing low that's going to intensify, as I said earlier. It's basically flat, stable waves moving along a cold front, and as each wave goes by, it pushes the front further south and further east. So I'll run you through a couple of the models here. Now, there are a couple of notes of caution. We use tropical tidbits here on Weather in 5 and also on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Thank you, Levi Cowan, for a great site, tropicaltidbits.com. He just added more European maps, but the map you're going to see here is for total liquid precipitation. It is not showing rain or snow or freezing rain. It is not showing precipitation type. Okay, that is the first note of caution. I'll give you the second note of caution in a moment. But on the European has a stronger upper high off the east coast. It pushes more of that cold air south rather than east. So you see where the frontal boundary sets up here. It sets up, this is early Friday morning. The front is way north and west of the coast, so your freezing rain and snow issues are going to be well up into upstate New York and in through Ohio. And then as the wave goes by, you see how it starts to shift eastward as the frontal boundary moves eastward. Then you'll get a change over to freezing rain and then maybe do a little bit of snow at the end down near the coastal areas. That is the European scenario. Again, more of that cold air. You see how there's no high, really. It just kind of, there's higher pressures up to the north, but the colder air drops down into Texas and into Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, etc. On the other side of this, the GFS. Now here I can use the precipitation type, and in this instance, the GFS This is the late afternoon GFS, which is fairly similar to the dayside run. Says the cold air in the northern plains moves across the western lakes. You see that high, and then it just pushes there up into Quebec. So by Friday morning, we've got freezing rain down into central New Jersey, all of Long Island, southern New England, all southeastern and south central Pennsylvania, Maryland, northeast Virginia, and into West Virginia. And it's got here's the frontal boundary. If you remember where I showed it to you on the on the European, there's the frontal boundary on the European. Okay, so I'm going to take that off, and now here's the frontal boundary on the GFS. Big difference. From here is the European, here is the GFS. And the low-level cold air, and that is very cold air that's coming down. It's not just taking temperatures down to near freezing. It's taking temperatures down to the 20s and even the lower 20s the further north you go, and even into the upper teens. And then it all starts to slide out, and it should be long done here probably by Friday evening, or at the latest maybe midnight Friday night before it all goes out. So those are the differences really between the two models. This time around, it's more about what's going on at the bottom of the atmosphere than it is going on at the higher levels of the atmosphere. The other thing I wanted to point out with this is if you are using Tropical Tidbits, because they do have the snow maps, and of course you'll see them on social media, just a big note of caution here is that the snow maps do not take into account. They're taking freezing rain and sleet and treating it as snow. So you'll see these big numbers. Sometimes there's a positive snow growth map there, which is supposed to take into account the sleet or freezing rain, but that is kind of squirrely sometimes. Sometimes you think it is, and it really isn't. So I stay away from those because you're going to see them up there. You know, they'll probably float on social media with double-digit amounts of snow in areas that are going to get sleet and freezing rain. So I just wanted to caution you about that. So that's pretty much the story here with how this is all going to play. Weather in 5 brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. For anything you need, if this plays out according to plan, you're going to need snow and ice melt products like Pelledo, Mag Ice pellets and flakes, and they have the largest supply of rock salt anywhere in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, tri-state area. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So, again, no Joe and Joe weather show tonight, but we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30, trying to line up a few guests for this week. So hopefully we'll have somebody on. I think we're going to have retired meteorologist Tony Gigi from National Weather Service of Mount Holly on Thursday. And I'll see if I can get Bill Goodman on either tomorrow or for Wednesday. So that depends on his schedule. So have a great night. And you can also stay updated, by the way, at meteorologistjoecioffi.com. You can download my free weather app of the same name on Google Play or on the App Store. You'll have snow and ice maps up and down the eastern seaboard to monitor. And a lot of other stuff. And again, it's free. You just search for Meteorologist Joe Cioffi either on Google Play or on the App Store. And if you want even more weather analysis, like I just gave, you can subscribe to my weather platform on Patreon, and that is patreon.com/meteorologist Joe Cioffi. Have a great day. Have a great evening, everybody.